Stories abounded among sailors of the monsters that stalked the distant ocean. One sailor had even reported seeing a sea snake that put his head on high and snatched away men. Over 60 days since they left Spain, Columbus's crew are suffering from the hardships of life on the open sea. The food is rotten, and the stench below decks has driven many of them to sleep in the open. The situation on board is ripe for mutiny.
The account of Columbus's voyages are peppered with references to mutineers, to the sailors not trusting where they were going, not trusting that where they're going to come back. Clearly discipline was a real problem.
Finally, a band of sailors demand that Columbus turn the ships around and return to Spain.
They knew that they had reached a point beyond which, if Columbus was right, they should have seen land. And this led them to believe that perhaps Columbus's great idea was totally wrong.
But in a final gamble, Columbus holds off the mutineers by convincing them to back him for just 3 more days. After all, they've spotted vegetation in the water, a sign that shows land should be near. And it seems tantalizingly close. An eager lookout reports land ahead.
Tierra! Tierra!
But it turns out just to be low cloud. At last, on the 3rd day, Friday, October 11th, 1492, Columbus does see land, just in time to save him from all-out mutiny. The following day, he goes ashore.
At dawn, I went ashore in the ship's boat. Armed, I unfurled the royal banner, and the captains brought the flags.
The flags bearing the standards of the monarchs of Spain claim the new world for a European power. Believing himself to be in the Far East, Columbus calls the islands the Indies. In fact, he is on the edge of a new continent, the Americas.
Gloria al Padre, al Hijo, y al Espíritu Santo.
After a prayer of thanksgiving, I ordered the captains to bear faith and witness that I was taking possession of this island for the king and the queen.
Yo tomo posesión de esa isla.
The entire company of the fleet bore witness to this act.
En nombre de los reyes de España.
To this island I gave the name San Salvador, in honor of our blessed Lord and Savior.
For many people, this is where the history of Columbus ends, with the discovery of the New World. But he will battle his way 3 more times across the Atlantic. Little does Columbus know in October 1492 that he is standing on the brink of his greatest and most challenging adventures. Ahead lie war, shipwreck, mutiny, and disaster. It will climax in his final, lost voyage. Columbus's first voyage across the Atlantic was one of history's greatest journeys of exploration. In just a few months, he changed the world map forever. But this wasn't enough for Columbus. He wants the New World to give him wealth, too, and he now sets about finding it. Zigzagging across the Caribbean, he is on the lookout for likely places to find riches and found colonies. One island shows most promise. In honor of Spain, the nation that's bankrolled his exploration, he names it Hispaniola. Today, it is the large island of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. To Columbus, it seemed like paradise.
All these islands are fertile, and this one is particularly so. It has many large harbors, finer than in any Christian lands, and many large rivers. The land is high and has many ranges of hills.
Columbus hopes that the discovery of Hispaniola will prove to the world his talents as an explorer. and win him a personal fortune from its natural riches. But the paradise he describes will lead only to short-term success and ultimately to disaster. In 1492, the island seems like a new world to Columbus, but it is far from uninhabited. Around 100,000 people are already living here. They call themselves the Taino. Columbus, thinking he has arrived in the Far East, the Indies, calls them Indians. The Tainos, who believe their gods arrived by sea, think Columbus is divine. What they don't realize is that these gods intend to exploit the island's people and its resources. Columbus wastes no time. Within days, he finds gold in Taino villages. It's exactly what he wants, a rich source he can plunder for himself and his Spanish paymasters. Leaving 39 men behind on Hispaniola, Columbus returns to Spain as a conquering hero. But for Columbus, the discovery of the Americas is just the beginning. He knows that to really profit from the islands he discovered on his first voyage, he has to make a second journey back there as quickly as possible. It takes him just 6 months to put together a fleet of 17 ships for his second voyage to the New World. This time, it will be different. More a journey of colonization than discovery. And it's a much larger expedition with ordinary settlers, royal officials, and gentlemen adventurers hoping to make their own fortunes alongside Columbus. For this second voyage, the Atlantic crossing is smooth and quick, taking a more southerly route than the first voyage. After just 24 days, they arrive in the Caribbean and turn north again towards Hispaniola. They anchor offshore at night, expecting to see the settlers they left behind. But the shore remains dark and silent. The next day, Columbus lands on Hispaniola again. But he finds that not only has his camp been completely destroyed, but all 39 sailors have been slaughtered. It is Columbus's first clue that settling on Hispaniola is going to prove more difficult than crossing the Atlantic itself. Columbus needs to find a new location to build a proper permanent settlement that can feed and defend itself. So he takes his ships 70 miles east. Here, 1 year after the first voyage, Columbus builds La Isabela. Today, Isabela is a ghost town. This is all that remains of what was once an impressive town of 200 settlers' huts, a storehouse, and a church. The largest house was reserved for the governor, Columbus himself. But Isabela was doomed from the start. This was a death trap. There was no fresh water and little protection from the elements. Located on Hispaniola's north coast, the settlement took the full force of the Caribbean's worst weather.